Hi, this is your instructor, Joshua Stomel, and I've noticed that some of you have had problems negotiating your way around the lab software, so I'm going to go through and do the Module 1 exercises, at least the tube and plate transfers in two separate videos, and sort of show you the ropes of how to do it. And we'll see how this goes. Now, so the first step is you have to create a new sample. So you click the new button that has this little biohazard after it, and GPOS is what the instructions tell me to call it, but I've already got a GPOS, so I'm going to call this GPOS 3. And it says to pick gram-positive coccus. So let's take a look here. Alright, it gives me a case study. The case study doesn't make any difference for this, but you should read through it. They're kind of interesting. And then it shows me the organism. These are definitely a picture of gram-positive coccus. I know this because I told it that that's what I wanted it to show me, and also because it's got all of these little purple dots. The spheres are for a cocci, and purple indicates a positive on the gram reaction. So those are gram-positive cocci. Alright. So the first thing that it wants me to do is select a phenyl red glucose with durum, and we're going to call that PRGBD for phenyl red glucose broth with durum tube. That's this thing here. And I'm going to remove the caps and the lids, and you'll see these little lights up here. Go to yellow. The inoculation light will turn green if I've successfully inoculated. The contamination light will turn red if I've done something wrong. And right now I'm just leaving it exposed to the air. And air is full of microbes. So if you leave your tube just exposed to the air for extensive periods of time, a piece of dust could easily land in it, and you would end up with a contaminated sample. And that's what's happening here. This lab software actually does keep track of the amount of time that you've left your sample open for, and if you leave it open too long, it'll give you a big red 0. Or a big red light, and you'll have to do it over again. The amount of time that it lets you keep it open is about 60 seconds. Right, so now it's been contaminated. You can see this little red light up here has flipped. So I'm going to put the lids back on. I'm going to stick this in the incubator. Alright, I'm going to grab it back out of the incubator by right-clicking on the incubator and selecting it, and nothing's happened to it. So what does that mean? Does that mean it wasn't contaminated? No, it doesn't mean that, because I didn't actually let it grow. All I did was basically set it in the incubator for a second and then take it back out. That isn't enough time for anything to happen. So now I'm going to stick it in the incubator. Go to the next day. Take it back out. And you'll see now it's yellow, indicating a positive result. And I didn't inoculate it with anything, but you assume if it just gets inoculated with random crap from the air, that it's probably going to get inoculated with a whole bunch of different microorganisms, and at least one of them is going to be positive. Alright, so I go to record results, go positive, and then gas from glucose, no result. Click OK, and it automatically trashes it for me. Alright. Now it wants me to do a, I believe, phenyl red mannitol broth, PRMB. And the next time, it just wants me to basically do much the same thing again to contaminate the sample. So here's my instructions over here. Right. So I can select the loop. Loops are what we use to inoculate things. I want to turn on my burner. I want to flame my loop. That will sterilize it so that I don't accidentally contaminate my sample. Right-click these, remove the caps and the lids. You always want to flame the top of your media before you use it. So then I'm going to stab down into my bacteria, stab down into the media. Now flame them again. Replace the caps and flame my loop again. So you always want to flame the lids before using, or flame the tops right after you take the lids off and right before you put the lids back on. Okay, now I can turn the burner off, throw this in the incubator, go to the next day, bring it out, and you'll see it's now gone cloudy. It's no longer transparent, which means that the bacteria grew, but it stayed red. And that means that it was a negative result. It would have changed colors if it was positive. So I'm going to record this as a negative result. All right. So for the next, it wants me to do a phenol red sorbitol and a Christensen's urea broth in pretty much exactly the same way. So let's go in here, get a phenol red sorbitol, PRSB. Cool. Let's get a loop. Turn the burner on. Flame that. Remove the caps. Flame the lips. Stab in here. Stab in here. And if you don't flame the lips afterwards, it will tell you that your sample has been contaminated. So I look up here, successful inoculation, no contamination. Drop that in the incubator, turn the Bunsen burner off before I go home. Go to the next day, grab that out. Cloudy, negative reaction. All right, so I'm going to record those results as being negative for the PRSB. If I was to go over here, appearance following incubation would be cloudy or turbid, and the interpretation of the results would be negative for phenol red sorbitol. Now let's try the Christensen's urea broth. CUB. Alright, grab a loop. Turn that on. Flame it. Move the caps. Flame the media. Stab that in there. Stab that in there. Replace the caps. Sterilize my loop. Check up here. Yes, inoculation. No contamination. It's nice that it gives you that. In the real world, you don't know if you contaminated your sample or not. You got to just sort of always rigorously follow the rules and not screw it up. This is a place where the lab software is going to make it a bit easier for you. Go on to the next day. Grab it back out. And again, I see it is cloudy, but red. So, record the results. That's a negative. I'm just double checking that. Yeah, that's fine. So for the Christensen urea broth, again, it would be negative, and it would be cloudy, and it would be negative. All right. Okay. So that's that. I'm going to end this video here, and I'm going to record another video for the broth to plate transfer.